And welcome to the Not So Late Show. Tonight, our guest will be
Dave Hughes.
Hey, stop mindlessly scrolling your life away and tune in to the Not So Late Show on Instagram Live with your host, Brendan Love. Well, welcome everybody back to the Not So Late Show. I'm your host, Brendan Love. I've moved the show back to the desk, so it's no longer on the couch. So Clarice is not in the shows as much these days, but to be honest, she was just dead weight. You know, wasn't really riffing on the back and forth. Welcome everybody. Hello, Christy Shields. Hello, Kath Williams. Aim. I should never bother trying to read these because I can never get them right. Hannah, hello. As you can see, we've really upped the merch game tonight as well. We've got the t-shirts, the backdrop, and the mugs. So, really going all out. Before we get into tonight's show, which I'm very excited about, a little news, Teskey news. Our new album, Live at the Forum, is out everywhere. Hey, 170 Russell, nice to see you. Is out everywhere, so if you haven't already done so, you can go out and buy it. You don't have to, though. We're not one of those bands that's like, you know, go buy our stuff. If you enjoy it, go for it. But if not, that's fine. And more exciting news is in Australia, it has gone to number 1 on the ARIA charts, which is pretty massive for us. You know, as a blues and soul band, it's kind of, you don't really think these things will sort of get to the top of charts, so it's actually quite lovely and validating to know that people are still digging this kind of music. So thanks everyone that's gone out and bought it and helped us get there. Number 1 in Australia. Come on, North America and Europe, you've got your work cut out for you. Get into it, all right? I'm looking at you, Netherlands, as well. Normally it's pretty good, so keep buying them. What else? It's Red Bin Night for North Warrandyte residents. Red Bin goes out tonight for early collection tomorrow. As always, let us know what bin night it is in your province or municipality or country. We always like to know here at the Not So Late Show. It's just water in the cup, nothing exciting. I don't drink. Another thing, no worries, Siren. Yep, always got to stay on top of the bin, what bin night it is. All right, enough of that business. Now, my little pre-recorded sound thing isn't working tonight, so I can't do any of my fancy sounds. So, not that it ever bloody works anyway. It always cuts out. So we're just going to get into it. Yellow Bin and Mitcham tomorrow night. There you go, Mitcham residents. Bin night is Tuesday in Essex. Oh, there you go. Black bin bags. What goes in, is that recycling or general waste in the black bin bags? Bin night is tomorrow for Camberwell. Yep. In Bristol, all bins go out tonight too. Is that recycling and general waste and garden waste? We would love to know. Anyway, we could go on all day about what bin night it is. Greetings from Madrid. Hello Madrid, thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's get into it. Our guest tonight is East Albury, Green and Red Bin. There you go, garden waste and general waste. Excellent. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hello Brazil. Our guest tonight is none other than Dave Hughes, who doesn't really need an intro, but I'm going to go for it anyway. Particularly for some of our overseas fans who might not be familiar with Dave's work. You should be, because he's bloody hilarious, and especially during these times, everyone needs a good laugh, so look him up. But anyway, here's a little bit about Dave Hughes. Natural and unmistakably Australian, Hughes' laconic style thinly disguises one of this country's fastest comedic minds. Turning everyday foibles into rich and hilarious routine has made Hughes the biggest name in Australian comedy. For 12 years, Hughes has made up one half of Melbourne's Nova Breakfast team, and for 5 years, he co-hosted Network 10's The Project, not to mention 10 years on 10's AFL show Before the Game. what else have we got here? He's done a lot of stuff that I didn't realise, actually. So there you go. A lot of TV things. But anyway, we'll get into that when we join him into the conversation. If he's there. Oh, yeah, there he is. I think we can add him in here. Dave Hughes. There he is.
Hey, Brendan. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm really good. Look, right now I'm doing the hit afternoon show with Ed Cavalier. So between 5 and 7 p.m. Weekdays. So that's the latest. So I left Nova about 7 years ago. So, I mean, they've just got to update.
Well, it's your bloody website, mate.
I've no. So what it says, websites just these days are just ignored, but I've really got to get onto my people. I mean, I pay them, for God's sake. Who's looking after my website?
Well, I'm going to be honest, I probably could have done a bit better research rather than just go to your press release, but yeah,
I love it, yes. Also, TV shows, usually we have a problem on Channel 10 as well, and The Masked Singer, the Australian version of that. So. But, mate, you've got such an international audience. It's incredible you guys are all over the world. It's just fantastic.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's pretty crazy for a small little band from a small country town, much, like yourself, from a, small Warrnambool town to hosting all of these TV shows and everything.
Absolutely, so Warrnambool, both W names. So yeah, and well done on the number one. I downloaded with my son, mate, last night. To be honest, we were going to get some Japanese takeaway, and I said we've got to download this album, number one album in Australia. It's on. We downloaded it on Apple Music. Do you make any money when someone downloads an album on Apple Music?
Yeah, technically, but not much. But it's kind of like streaming services these days. There's a lot of people, I guess, from the older sort of back when, physical records were selling, that kind of have a bit of an attitude when it comes to streaming services. But I guess for bands like us, we just view it as, I mean, you're not making money off it, but it's advertising. It's kind of getting you out there.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you don't directly make much money off it, but it does get your music overseas and, accessible to everyone. So it's helped us out a fair bit as far as, getting an audience, not just in Australia. So, yeah.
So you can tour in many parts of the world. You could tour in the Netherlands or, America, wherever, and people come to see your shows. And is that, so I suppose streaming services have obviously helped for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first time we went overseas, I couldn't believe there was people there, because I was going, like it wasn't that long ago we were playing in pubs to no one, and then all of a sudden you're overseas and there's people there singing along. So it's weird, but yeah, I guess that's just the sort of the age we live in with streaming and online stuff, and even like TV, like streaming TV stuff now, like with Stan and Netflix and all of that. I guess it's all sort of the new thing. But that's why you caught me off.
I'm interviewing you now, but you were nominated for a Grammy, yeah? That's right, isn't it? We've heard.
Yeah, so not this album. The last album was nominated for a Grammy for Best Produced Album. And so that was Sam, who's in the band, Paul Butler, who was the producer, Joe Carra, who was the masterer, and I think that was it. So, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, we happened to release the album in the same year as Billie Eilish, so the chances were slim. But, we gave it a run off track.
It's an honour to be nominated, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And you practice saying that anytime something like that comes up and you get the interview and you go, it's just an honour to be nominated,
Did you go to the Grammys?
No, we were on tour. We were in Europe at the time when the Grammys were on. So
yeah, right.
And not to sound defeatist, but we were pretty sure that we weren't going to win.
You didn't get the word from the Grammys Association. We need you in the room, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I assume they do give you the word if you need to be there.
I think they do.
Yeah.
They know you're going to win. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, enough about us, mate. Bloody hell. I have to admit though, the reason I don't watch TV, so I actually wasn't even familiar with half of the. I didn't realize you're doing so much stuff on TV at the moment.
Oh, look, I have been. I've been on TV for years. Obviously in Australia, where there's hardly a week would go by where I wouldn't be on something. So, yeah, I mean, I understand a lot of people don't watch free to air TV anymore. It's you know what? To be honest, I've got three kids, and we were watching the news just before I did this, and I swear to God, they haven't seen an ad in a long time, like an ad break. So
Yeah.
it's all the streaming services. So just them watching ads is like they're watching a foreign concept. So it's like free-to-air TV. It's in a weird space. I mean, the ratings say that people still watch, but it's yeah, it is. It's a very different time to. I mean, I grew up in the 70s in country Victoria, and we had two channels. We didn't have any screens apart from the national broadcaster and one commercial channel, and that was it. So
Yeah.
God, it's
Was
a
that?
different
Did you
world.
have Win or?
We had, it was BTV6 back then, and it was
Oh, yeah.
Ballarat, which is another country town, was where it all was broadcast from. So country town of like 100,000 people was like, for us, it was like our, LA or whatever. The big smoke was Ballarat. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to say that, this press conference on your site, we've got the glass house here, so it's nice and up to date. It's good, mate.
that was a TV show that finished on air in 2006.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Just before I married my wife, actually, big day for me. My wife reminded me today that she said she did the maths, and today, 18 years ago, me and my wife walked into a bar in Melbourne, which you would know, the Cherry Bar, which is a rock bar. The Cherry Bar. You heard of that? It's in ACDC Lane, and so we walked in there with different, with different groups of people 18 years ago. We'd never met before, and here we are 18 years later. We're, I've got three kids. So, yeah, so it's been 18 years. Today is the day we met. So here we are.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's go back to a young Hughesy back in the Warrnambool days. You were like a sporty lad, weren't you?
I was. I dreamed of being a sports star. So I dreamed of being like a cricket star or a tennis star or AFL or something. So that was my go back then. So, wanted to be, a hero. But so comedy wasn't my go, and not until I sort of got to about late teens, early teens, actually mid-teens, I started to think comedy was it something I could do, but there wasn't something I would tell anyone about. It was like, I didn't come from a dramatic background, like an acting background at all. My dad worked in a factory. My mum was a nurse, so it didn't look like a career path for someone like me. So yeah, I kept it pretty quiet.
Is that why you buggered off over to Perth as well, to sort of get your foot in the water without anyone else, without being embarrassing people in front of people you knew?
Absolutely. I did my first stand-up comedy gig in Perth at the age of 22, I think, and I wanted to be as far away from anyone I knew so that when I died, I could die alone. So that's what happened my first night. I was absolutely horrendous, and I was actually living with a guy who'd done the drive over there with me, which is like 3,000 kilometres from Warrnambool, and I got back to the flat we're living in, and he said, "How'd you go?" I said, "Not good." And he said, "You know why?" I said, "Not really." He said, "Because you're not funny, mate." So that was sort of that was what I was dealing with back then.
So what's the thing that because I've secretly done like some open mic things, right? And it was like, it went good twice, and then it went shit the third time, and I've never recovered to the point where I would ever do it again. So what was the thing in you that, even though you died, you still went, nah, you know what? I'm going to give this another go.
Look, the first one was horrific. Second one, I thought if I don't get back within 7 days, I'll never do it again. So I got on stage at the very next week and kept my composure. The first week I just dissolved into a sea of anxiety, but the second week I kept my composure. Didn't get many laughs, but I walked off not having lost the plot. So, but it was the third time that I ever did it, which was a few months later. I saw an ad in the West Australian newspaper that said, new comedians required. And I thought, well, I rang the number, and it was the same little venue over there. And the guy who answered the phone said, "I remember you from when you tried it before. You weren't too bad. Give it another go." That third time when I walked on stage, I just had a realization that just by attempting this, I'm already winning, so I don't have to do anything else. I'm already a winner just by walking on stage. It relaxed me to the point that for whatever reason, that gig just took off, and I just got these massive laughs in my mind, they were massive anyway. And I was hooked from that third gig, and it was just the joy of doing it and the thrill of doing it, and the risk of it is part of the addiction. You know what I mean? Like it could go wrong, so that's what makes it exciting. So yeah, and I've just loved it ever since. That was in 1993. So
when did you switch from wanting to be on the AFL field or on a cricket team to wanting to get on the stage and make people laugh?
Probably, I remember failing my last uni exam. I was doing a business degree and I was just smoking bongs and just not focusing at all. And I remember being in a uni exam, not knowing any of the answers, knowing I was going to fail, but just thinking I want to do comedy anyway. So that was probably at the age of 20. And so probably from then, I thought I'm going to go down that track. But again, on the footy field, I remember playing for a local team in Melbourne and doing a lap with the captain of the club. And I did a stand-up gig for the club midweek, and as we're doing a lap, he said, "I reckon you should focus on your comedy rather than the footy." So, at the age of I think 23 or 24, I gave up footy. So yeah.
Yeah. And what was the? I guess because I've always been curious about the transition of your career for starting out doing comedy and then getting into TV and radio and all of that stuff. Particularly the start of your career, where I guess the part of the persona of your act was, well, it wasn't even a persona. I guess just at the time you were unemployed and on Centrelink and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But how, I guess the thing that I have admired about your career and your comedy is that it's less of a persona and it just seems to evolve as you evolve. So there's an honesty to your act that kind of makes it relevant and doesn't fall into that trap of, oh, well, he's got a bit of success now, he's not funny, or we can't relate to him. There's that weird thing where some acts kind of get stuck within the confines of that persona.
I know what you mean, but I always wanted to be honest. That was my main thing for doing comedy, was to be honest and be honest on stage. And whether you're that funny or not, you want people to be able to go, he's not bullshitting. He's telling his truth. And so I always have strived to just be relevant to where I am in life. So I was on the dole and was for like 6 years when I first started comedy, because it's bloody hard, as you know, as a muso. It's hard to make a living doing, being artistic basically. So, and I used to do jokes about being on the dole, and you know what, I was on the dole and I was embarrassed to be on the dole, and I think everyone who is on the dole is a bit embarrassed. And I'd do jokes about it though, and people would laugh, and people would come up to me at gigs and go, I'm on the dole too, you've made me feel more relaxed about my situation, and I felt good about that, that I could laugh at my own place in the world, and that would help other people accept their place in the world. So and the fact, I remember someone going to me, mate, what about if you get rich and famous, you won't be able to do jokes about being on the dole? I'm like, well, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, and so, and I was happy to make that transition, So, sometimes I do jokes about my stock portfolio now, so they're probably not as relatable, but they're honest jokes still. So.
Yeah. There's bloody forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I was going to say that when you said yes to do this interview, I went back and listened to was it Whatever, that first album.
Yeah.
And all through high school, that was me and my mates would listen to that and piss ourselves. And to this day, I forgot we even do this. I forgot this was from you. It's become such part of my common day parlance. Is me and my friend and my mum as well. She'll say something like, "Oh, are you gonna come over for dinner tonight or whatever?" And I'll go, "Yeah, we'll organise some chairs." And that's just become. It's just such that wasn't even the punchline. Generally, that was just sort of almost a throwaway bit. But for some reason, that's become just part of our parlance amongst me and my friends.
I mean, you've that routine, which I haven't thought about for years, was early at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, early days when, I was the first one I ever did in 1996, I think, and I just I put posters up around St Kilda or wherever I was living at the time, and I'd have couple of people ring me saying, "When's the gig on?" And I'm like, I do remember it was like, "When's the gig on?" And I'm like, I told them the night, and they said, "Well, do we have to book seats?" And I said, "I think I will organise some chairs." We'll organise some chairs.
Yeah.
I remember I said, I think I might have exaggerated, but I said in the routine, I say, "Do you want me to pick you up?"
So, yeah. Yeah.
There wasn't many people booking basically. But you know what? Back in the days when you do all that stuff, at least you get to keep all the profits. If you know what I mean. So when you're the one
Yeah,
who's
well,
doing the
yeah, you haven't
booking,
got agents and
the
everyone else to
Ticketek
pay.
aren't taking $15 per ticket. We're probably
Yeah,
better off just taking the calls ourselves.
yeah. But then you got to do the admin, you know. Think
Oh,
about your
that's
time,
right.
Husey. You got to charge yourself out. But yeah, it was just a funny, like, I've literally been saying that since I was about 15 or 16, to the point that I forgot where it originated from. And my
I
mate the
do
other
have
day
people
said,
say lines to me. The people say lines to me, you know, not reasonably often. I go, geez, I forgot about that. And, you know, sometimes I'll remember it and I'll put it back in the routine, you know, and I haven't done it for like 20 years, but I'll go, gee, that was funny. And then I'll do it that night and it'll
yeah,
get a big laugh. I'm thinking, I've just forgotten that. And that could have been floating around in my act for 20 years.
yeah. Well, another one is like, you know, fish and chip nights at Mum's house is always checked, you know, she's always got to say, checked all the big chips. So that's another one.
But I need to remember I need to go back and listen to that album.
Yeah, I reckon I could probably do it. Yeah, I've listened to it that much. I reckon I could probably do a Husey tribute act. I mean, it wouldn't be
But
good, but
a lot of Australian comedians do impersonations of me. So some of them get bigger laughs than I do. I remember getting on stage one night at the Anglers Tavern in Maribyrnong after Dave Thornton, another comedian, had done an impersonation of me, and I tell you what, he was getting such big laughs. When I turned up, they were like, "Bring back the fake Husey," you know.
yeah, man. Is it true that Mark Seymour punched out one of your mates at a gig in Warrnambool?
It is absolutely Mano. This was back in I reckon 1990, about 1990. There was a hotel in Warrnambool called the Lady Bay Hotel, which is no longer there, but it was very rough and ready, and we were like 18, 19 at the time, and the Hunters and Collectors were playing, and they were playing some new stuff, and my mate sort of grabbed Mark around the collar from stage. He was like, "You right at the front of the stage." He said, "Play your old shit." And Mark just punched him in the face, and he deserved it.
Oh, that's
that guy, that mate, I don't drink either, mate. Heard you say you don't drink. I don't drink either, and I haven't had a drink since the early '90s, since my wild days. But I used to drink with the guy who got punched in the face by Mark Seymour, and only about 3 months ago, he got fined by the Lawn Hotel charged him $1,000. He rang me at the Lawn Hotel and charged me $1,000, and I said, "What for?" He said, "Because I fell asleep in the shower, and I fell asleep on the plug hole. So his arse was on the plug hole, and he flooded the hotel room." I said, "How long are you asleep for?" He said, "About 8 hours." He's asleep in the shower for 8 hours. The hotel is absolutely flooded.
Oh well, yeah, you got out just in time, Husey.
He said, I spoke to the guy who owns the Lawn Hotel, and I said, "Is that true?" And he goes, "It's dead set true." And he said, "But my mate just left the next day, didn't even check out, just left. He didn't even explain himself. He just left."
Too much shame. Just had to get out of there.
And then my mate rang this guy a few days later, the owner of the Lawn Hotel, and said, "Oh, come on, mate, can't you help a battler out?" Just a classic. Mano, he'd be perfect. He's got the beard. He's got a big beard, basically.
What's the I was going to say, forgot what I was going to say. Oh well, what's the have you ever had some good, you know, Mano style hecklers?
I have, yeah. I remember I did. I did the Edinburgh Festival one year. There's a show at the Edinburgh Festival called Late and Live, which starts at 1 o'clock in the morning. Ross Noble was MC this night. I'd never done it before. He gave me a pep talk before the show. He said, "Mate, just relax out there. Whatever happens, just relax." I'm like, "It's not a UFC fight, you know. I mean, what's going to happen?" I'd never seen the venue before, but and I didn't realise. I went back and had a look. It's advertised as "Come to the Comedy Abattoir," the home of, you know, the 10,000 comedians have been slain at the venue. I'm like, all right. Now I knew what I was getting for. I walked on stage and just said hello, and about 200 people started chanting, "Fuck off, Aussie, fuck off." It was just blatant racism, basically. I remember telling the crowd they disgusted me, and that they were amused by that. So just me telling the crowd they were disgraceful people kept them happy. But, you know, they didn't want to hear any actual fish and chip routines. They just wanted me to abuse them. So that
Was
one
that?
night.
I mean, was that part of like? Was that one of those gigs though, where it's kind of like, a known heck? Like, was that
Yes,
part
it
of
is,
the?
absolutely. I did
Yeah.
it about 6 times during that festival, and and it was always really stressful. And once I got off stage and walked to the back of the room, and Jamoan was there, and I said, "Do you do this?" He goes, "Why would I do this? These people are awful." Then I thought, why? He's right. Why am I doing it? Just
Yeah.
people who want to humiliate other humans, and we're
Yeah.
allowing them. It was quite bizarre.
Yeah. Well, it's like the ultimate challenge, though, I guess, because if you can win them over, then it's.
Well, that was it. It's what you think. Every night they would just say one comedian was great. Like they'd boo like 10 comedians off, but then like give one comedian a standing ovation. And I think the crowd just did that just to make the other comedians feel bad about themselves. Like,
Yeah. Like as if they already don't feel bad about themselves enough.
just let the other comedians think, yes, we could have liked you, but you're
Yeah.
you're a loser, so we didn't. But we like this other person. So.
Yeah. Did you? So when you were like, transitioned from, I guess, your interest in sport and stuff, and then getting interested in comedy, like, were you listening to, like, watching comedians and listening to comedian CDs?
Yeah,
And
I do remember, not a lot of it. I didn't listen to a lot of comedy. I do remember I used to always like, as a teenager, if there was a funny film or a funny TV show, I'd get my mates over and I'd go, watch this, and I'd just love to sit my mates down and have them laugh at things I'd laughed at. So, like funny films, Flying High, all that stuff. I remember seeing a comedian called Sam Kinison, who's an American comedian who died quite young. But
yeah,
I watched him once, and I just thought that's what I want to do. He used to get really angry about his own life, and it was personal stuff, and it just made me laugh so much. So yeah, that was someone who inspired me actually. So yeah, but I was very naive when I started doing comedy in Perth. I didn't think I could repeat a joke, so I would get on stage, and if the crowd. And if I went back the next week, I just have completely new material. And the other comedians were going, "Why don't you work on the jokes you've already done?" And I'd like, but if I do that, then the barman will heckle me saying I heard it. So,
yeah,
every week I'd be completely new, and it was a roller coaster ride. I remember seeing another comedian who was headlining one night. And he absolutely smashed, and I thought that guy's a genius. Then I saw him the next night do exactly the same thing, and I'm like, it just shattered my illusions.
yeah. To be fair, I think a lot of audiences do have that illusion too. That if they hear something again, or like if you do the gala, and they hear a joke on the TV, so like I feel
Yeah, then I think
sometimes.
you shouldn't do it again. Absolutely. That's where musicians have it easier, where you can just they're yelling out for your favourite song. I've got no one in the crowd. Well, it's very rarely have I got someone in the crowd yell out, "Do your old shit." Although sometimes they do. I have had people say, do the snakes alive routine or do the fish and chip routine, or so it has
Yeah.
happened. But generally, the crowd want to hear new stuff and get annoyed if they've heard it before. But I think I personally know if I watched a comedian as a favourite bit of theirs, I actually want to hear it again if I really like it. So yeah, I think some people do realise that they are up for hearing a bit again if they've really enjoyed it the first time.
Yeah, and I guess that's part of the craft of the whole performance, which is something that I was naive to when I was younger, watching comedy and all of that. Like I had the same expectation that they just get up there and riff. But as I got older and started performing myself and playing music, then I started to realize the sort of the craft of it. And like my favorite thing to do at the Melbourne Comedy Festival is to go opening night to see someone, and then go closing night, and just see how it's all shifted around. And like, I don't know, I really enjoy getting into the kind of mechanics of it all and seeing how it's all paced. And it makes you realize that I think a lot of people don't necessarily see the kind of the work that goes behind it and how much difference like leaving a pause here or changing that word can make.
I love doing a long run of shows, and a show for me at the start of a run, at the end of the run, it'll be really different. And like when you're on every night, you can I'll come up with things during the day and I'll put them in the act. It's like it'll evolve. It'll really take on a life of its own over like a month. So yeah, I'm absolutely way up for changing things. Some comedians don't. They're on stage and that's their order of their set and that's it. They get it right, and they'll just tour it for a year and it won't change a thing. But I'm not like that. I'm more like I'm not saying I don't do jokes over and over again, because I obviously do. But I will change it. I'll change the order. I'll never have the same order 2 nights in a row, which can make it stressful for me. But maybe a part of it's laziness. But yeah, on stage, I'll probably never know what's coming next. So it sort of keeps it alive for me. It's never like press play on the tape, if you know what I mean, and just go for an hour and then press stop, which you could do quite easily if you had your routine down. You could just not even think about it. But I've never been on stage in 25 years of comedy, stand-up comedy, and I've never been thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner or what's on tomorrow, which is good. That's what I want. That's for me, the live on the stage. I've missed it so much over the last couple of months. Is the time where I'm in the moment more than anywhere else in my life, any other time in my life.
Well, that's what I was going to ask about, particularly with the Melbourne Comedy Festival not going on. How that, obviously, that has financial impact, but also just, I don't know.
For me, look, because I do radio and I've done TV and, I'm, been worked hard for a long time, the financial thing it's not a problem for me. I don't rely on the live gigs because I would do all this other stuff. But it's my joy. It's my artistic joy is that stand-up comedy, and I absolutely love it, and I will continue to love it. So yeah, it's been tough, absolutely, and you can't complain because I'm really lucky, obviously. But it made me remember how much I loved it, but I really didn't need to remember how much I loved it because I already knew. So I can't wait to get back out there, though, and I'm sure you guys can't wait to get back out there either. And hopefully, it's not too long.
Yeah, well, who knows? But yes, I think everyone's pretty keen to get back out there. All performers, I think, and you can see it, in the way that people have done things like, doing streaming things and all that sort of stuff, just to sort of stay busy and try and stay connected with audiences. I think it's a lot harder for stand-ups because, it's kind of hard to do stand-up to a phone. Yeah, you can't really just sit there and tell knock-knock jokes to a phone with nobody responding. So.
Well, it's like when you're a comedian and the crowd aren't laughing. They just become sentences. They're not jokes. They're just sentences. So it turns into performance poetry basically. So.
Yeah, like a weird avant-garde spoken word piece or something. You should bust out the bongos and just get a bit new age. Actually, I want to ask you. This might be a bit embarrassing, but one of my favourite jokes, as in just a joke, I find it's my favourite joke, and like everyone I've ever told it to doesn't find it funny, and I don't know whether it's because it's not funny, or whether I'm just not telling it right, or whatever.
Yeah.
So can I tell it to you, and you just tell me whether it's funny or not?
All right. It's just. I'm one opinion, obviously. So I'll tell you if I find it funny. All right. So that's all I'll do. I think it's a good joke. But who says I'm an expert? So, but anyway, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. And, by the way, I'm well aware this is probably like if you were like, hey, can I just do a bass solo for you? I'd be like, yeah, all right. Sure, why not?
I'm excited, man. I can't wait to hear it.
Well, let's not build it up. It's not that great. All right, so a dog goes into a telegrams office and he goes, I want to send a telegram. The guy goes, oh, okay, yeah, no worries, and pulls the pencil out behind his ear. He's like, all right, what would you like it to say? The dog goes, okay, let's see. Woof, woof, woof. Woof, 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 woof. So the guy's like, there you go, he's writing it down. He looks at me and goes, oh, well, a telegram, you can send 10 words. You've got 9 wolves here. Do you want to just put another wolf in for free? And then the dog goes, yeah, but that won't make sense.
I like it. That's the end of the joke, yeah. I think it's a good joke.
It's not a good sign when somebody has to ask, is that the end of a joke?
No, I do. That one makes sense. Is good, mate. I like it. It's a good joke. Absolutely. I like it. I do. That one makes sense. It's subtle. It's a good joke. I'm going to tell it to my children. I'll get off this and I'll tell it to my children, and they'll probably love it. And they're good judges. Absolutely.
Have you got a favourite joke?
Well, I do this one, which it's not my joke, but it could be seen as being sexist. I put the joke I'm about to tell you on a little video because my next door neighbour said, I've got a group of blokes and we just tell each other jokes. Can you do a joke for it? No, I can give them a kick if, don't Dave Hughes doing jokes. So I did the joke, and then I saw them in the street a few days later, and the guy's wife said that joke wasn't. I didn't like that joke. I said, well, I didn't think you were going to be in on that joke. So I was like, anyway, this is the joke. You may have heard it. Tell me if you've heard it, but it's a quick one. A guy walks into his kitchen, and the guy's holding a duck. So a guy walks into his kitchen, his guy's holding a duck, the guy's wife's in the kitchen, and the guy goes, "This is the pig I've been banging." And his wife goes, "That's not a pig, that's a duck." And the guy goes, "I was talking to the duck." So that's just joke. It's not my joke, but
I don't know why I enjoy, like, I mean, obviously I love stand-up comedy, like possibly more than I like music, to be honest, but I don't know why I love small, like, I don't know if you follow Jamoan, but he's been doing like jokes every day since the lockdown. And I don't know what it is about them, but I just love like the small little.
Yeah, mate. Look, I should follow Jamal. I don't follow Jamal. I should follow him. Jamal is a bloody inspiration, mate. That man tours stand-up comedy more than anyone I know, and he has for bloody 30 years. And he's an absolute road warrior and a bloody champion, Jamal.
Yeah, but I mean, you're bloody. The funny thing too is it's like because the ultimate. Not irony, but like juxtaposition, I suppose, is, as I was saying, the start of your career, that sort of unemployed,
Yeah.
But it's like you're kicking goals nonstop. You're constantly busy doing things. Like
I love it though. I absolutely love it, and I will love it I just love the thrill of comedy. You know, again, maybe it's because I don't drink, and I know, as we said, you don't either. But it's my thrill. It's just. And I'll take it wherever I can get it, honestly. I mean, I'll do anything. Tomorrow night, I'm jumping into a Zoom call to surprise I think a woman's having her 65th birthday. So I'm jumping into the Zoom call. There's going to be about 4 other people on the call, apparently. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
after my radio show, I'll get off air there and I'm like, right, here, I'm going to jump into a Zoom call. So can I get a laugh?
It'll take you right back to the Perth days.
Exactly. I remember once I did a gig. I turned up to a woman's house in Toorak. I wasn't well known then, and it was like a private function. And I turned up there, and she said, "Don't go in yet. I want you to wear my husband's tennis clothes." I'm like, "That's weird." So there I am in like some sort of back room in this mansion in Toorak, putting on someone's tennis clothes while their wife watches me. I'm thinking, what sort of gig is this? But I get out there, and I had to hold his tennis racket, and she told me he said, "He's on the dole too." This was back in the dole days. "I want you to get out there and do jokes about being on the dole to him." I'm thinking, well, this is weird. So I walked back out. I walked in there, and his bloody grandmother was there, and there I am holding his tennis racket. He was about a 50-year-old guy who'd just been retrenched probably from some high-paying job. Now I am doing jokes about being on the dole to him. So, it went all right, and I got my money, and I went home. So,
Yeah. So, I guess, it is a job at the end of the day as well. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
I think Glasshouse was your first sort of TV thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I got, I started the Glasshouse back in 2001 and also started working breakfast radio back then as well on Nova. So I went from being a gigging comedian who sort of starting to get live work, like fill up live venues, to like working full-time radio, breakfast radio, and doing a weekly TV show. So yeah, and then ended up doing a football show on the Saturdays as well. So I was doing 2 weekly TV shows, breakfast radio, and doing stand-up comedy all at the same time. So yeah, no, I've been absolutely flat out since then, basically.
How did you find going from a stage to an audience to going onto a set with someone in your ear and, okay, 5 seconds, yep, go here, okay, back announce this, and the chaos that is TV? Was that something you sort of struggled at first?
Glasshouse, I didn't have anyone in my ear, but what you've described then, I was on the project for 5 years as well, which is still on Channel 10. So I was the first panelist on the first panel of the project. So for 5 years, on a weeknight, I'd do breakfast radio and then go into Channel 10 and do a nightly TV show, which was news/comedy. And we had, you got someone in your ear there. So every story's quick there. So, you're trying to chuck in funny bits in between sometimes sad stories. And it was like, that was 5 years of stress. I was tired because I was still doing breakfast radio. We had 3 kids in that time. So I'm coming home to babies. I'm just felt exhausted the whole time. You know, I'm trying to be funny in between like bus crashes and, you know, like there'd be a sad story and then you'd be funny now. And like, you know, I've done jokes about, you know, I'm halfway through a story and then the person in my ear yells out, "Stop speaking." And I'm like, you know, I'm halfway through a sentence. I'm going to look like I've had a stroke, you know. Like, they had to time out to an ad or something. So it was like, yeah, that was crazy. But you just deal with it, you know. And because it was, you know, I'm still loving it. I'm still, you know, living basically. So it was fun.
Yeah, I remember we went on the project, and the first time we went on for an interview,
Yeah.
and the story before us was like something about it was an abortion debate or something. And I'm sitting there going like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a real riot when we go on and straight after this, you know, and then they do the cut to thing, and it's like, and now Australia's jarling Tisky Brother, and I'm just like, oh man, you know?
But again, I was part of that show getting put together, so I was there. You know, so I know all about that, the hard U-turns, and I'd be in the meetings sometimes going, "Oh, come on, we need to put a break between, you know, that person and that story. We've got to make it, you know." Sometimes I just haven't got time to do that. Sometimes I'd be like, you know, if I do a joke on the project, then if the audience didn't laugh that loud, I'd over laugh myself at my own joke to try to overcompensate. And
Yeah.
then, you know, the newsreader or whoever's reading news, often Carrie Bickmore, would start the news story while I'm still laughing, and it'd be like, you know, 30 people died in a terrorist attack today, and I'm still laughing about my joke. You know, it's like, I don't have to try to stop laughing till
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. There's when you're putting a set together, basically. So say you're going to do a tour, or you're working up to the comedy festival or something like that. Are you a sit at a desk with a bit of paper kind of guy, or are you just go out to a smaller club for a couple of months and just trial it in front of people?
You definitely want to try it, but I mean, it's good to sit down and then before you try it. So it's a bit of both, you know. So it's often it's just things happen. Like, you know, here's an example. One day my son said to me, because, you know, my wife's attractive and, you know, whatever, and people say I'm better above my average, and I get that a lot, and that's all good. I appreciate it. It's a compliment. But I swear to God, at the age of 6, I reckon he said to me, "Dad, did you meet Mum after you got famous?" And I'm like, it was just an absolute true statement from him. He just asked me the question, and I thought that is funny. My son, at the age
was
of
he
6,
meant to be
was
being funny
questioning
though? Or,
what's that?
like, was he meant to be being funny, or was it just an
No, it
earnest?
was absolute. He was just questioning. He's looking at me, looking at his mother, thinking, "How did that happen?" At the age of 6, he's realizing that fame has its, you know, benefits, and it's like it was an innocent question, but it was also a question full of knowledge. So, from that one statement, I went on stage. I remember I was at the Comics Lounge in North Melbourne that night, just doing a tryout spot, and I said it to one of the other guys working there. I said, "My son just said this to me today," and he said, "That's comedy gold," and I said, "Yes, it is." And then a routine developed from that. So it's like the things have to occur to me, but you've got to take them to stage to develop them into solid routines. So
Yeah.
you know,
And
the more you get on stage, the more it can happen.
And would you like record a set, listen to it back, and go, "Oh, you know, that word, that's not landing"?
I did do that. I haven't done it often enough in my career, to be honest, and I should do it. You know, maybe I'll do it more often. It's always good to record your stuff and to listen back. I don't do it often enough, but you will hear stuff that will go, "Oh shit, that is funny, that bit." So, you know, but my problem with doing that is sometimes I'll have done that, recorded a show, and I'll listen to it during the day, and the next night I'm doing another show, and I'm on stage thinking it went better last night. Do you know what I mean? Because my head is sometimes thinking only then am I thinking, "Oh, that joke went better," when, you know. So that's the only issue with doing that. But having said that, I still think it is well worth it.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about the not drinking thing, because I feel like you would have spent your life since 22 talking about it in the same way as I don't think it's that much of a achievement. I just don't drink, so it's not that interesting. But what I do find interesting is I heard someone say a quote about you that you're addicted to giving things up.
Well, I have. I mean, I've become a vegan since November, so I'm So that is that's next level. I was a pescatarian for many years as well, so not being that's just eat fish and no sort of land-based animals. But a vegan's next level, obviously, with no milk, no eggs. So you know what? I think that animals. I mean, is Anyway, I want to be better. In a way, I want to be healthier. I want to think clearer. I want to be happier, and that's why I did give up drinking back in the day, and I stopped all drugs back in the day as well. So and so I'm happy to try to be better if I can by and sometimes it is like, well, I'm not going to drink milk, and now I'm running much better. I'm 49 and I'm running 4-minute Ks. I did 10 kilometers yesterday in 44 minutes. So and I think that I did watch a Netflix doco called Game Changers, which inspired me last November. But my body's feeling better. It's a funny story from last night. Actually, this happened. I went for a run yesterday along the beach in Melbourne. So I'm running towards Brighton from where I live in St Kilda and back. I got the AirPods in. I might have been listening to you guys actually, and I'm running, and I thought I heard someone screaming at me as I'm running, and but I thought I'm not going to turn around, so I just kept running, and then I forgot about it, and then on Instagram someone sent me a message later on in the day saying, "Are you okay? I was really worried about you," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "That guy who chased you," and apparently when I was running, some crazed guy was yelling my name, yelling abuse at me, this is yesterday, and chasing me like he was going to cause me harm. And because I'm jogging with my AirPods in, I never really picked up on it. And I said to the guy, "How close did he get?" He apparently got 6 meters away from me. And he looked like he was going to beat me up.
Jesus. Well, lucky you're running the 4-minute Ks, mate. That's
The veganism saved my life. Then he might have. The guy could have. I actually ran away from an attacker without even realizing. So.
Yeah, everyone's probably going, "Oh, look at bloody Hughesy, man. He's bloody got it together."
I need to get there might be video footage of it. I don't know if the local surf lifesaving club's got video footage pointed out to the beach, but I mean, it would be bizarre to see me just being, some meth head just chasing me and I'm running away from him.
Yeah. Hughesy's cold as ice. Nerves of steel. Not even phased. Yeah.
He's just running like he normally would. For a guy behind him looks like he's going to kill him. So.
Do you get that a lot? Like if you're out running around St Kilda or just walk, like do you get a lot of Hughesy and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. I had another guy yesterday actually as I'm jogging, not the meth head who wanted to kill me, but another guy who wanted a high five. I'm like, "Mate, we can't high five at the moment."
Get rid of a bloody pandemic.
We're in a pandemic, no high five, So yeah. I'm someone who normally shakes people's hands. I did it at the Adelaide Fringe Festival, and Adelaide people are the friendliest people in the world. And my walk from the hotel to the gardens where the Fringe Festival is, I'd shake 200 people's hands. This is back in February, and I'd walk into the gardens, into this tent where I was doing the show, and say, "Look, guys, if COVID is in, if coronavirus is in Adelaide, you've got it because I've got it." So it was funny back then, but then it stopped being funny.
Yeah,
it might get funny again, but there was a time where it was. Anyway, I'm a very friendly guy.
Yeah, I'm anticipating it to be funny, soonish. I reckon it'll be fair game soonish to make some. Like the other day, we were in the NGV doing something, and somebody said something, and then I said, "Oh yeah, it reminded me of a simpler time, when you could enjoy coughing on someone in public." Well, I don't know, just some stupid thing like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently not funny yet. Okay? So just yeah.
I think it is. I'm with you. I'm like, I do jokes about. Remember the good old days when the bushfires were here. You know what I mean? It was like,
yeah.
And that's like.
But that's the thing. I mean, like, we had that, and then this, and it's and literally like that seems like a lifetime ago now.
I know there's $50 million locked up in a, Celeste Barber got going, and it's like that's just locked up somewhere. And that does feel like a lifetime ago. It's crazy.
Was that? I can't remember if this was one of your jokes or not, and so apologies for ruining it. But there was some. I remember like after Black Saturday, like a respectful amount of time after Black Saturday, you were saying, I was driving through the air and looking at some of the houses and going, I don't know if I remember these houses used to be built out of gold.
Look, no? I don't think that was mine. I'm not saying.
Yeah, right. All right.
I can hear. I hear where that's going, and I respect that joke, but I don't think it's mine. But yeah. Okay. And I'm trying to wonder whether I wish it was, and maybe I do.
I don't know.
There's tricky. There's that's tricky.
Yeah. I know you know where it was going, and it would be
absolutely.
It would require a lot of skill.
About the $50 million that Celeste Barber had, got, which she did for the bushfire relief, and it had to go to one RFS, And my joke was, well, it's got to go to training and equipment, so their training's going to be at the Bahamas, So it's that sort of that area. The equipment, they're going to have gold-plated, fire hoses and stuff. So I mean, it's a tricky one.
It's tricky, yeah. I mean, you got to navigate. You got to navigate that one, but if anyone can pull it off, it's you. We had some audience questions. I was just thinking, I didn't write them down, but I can remember. Christy Shields wanted to know if you could do a gig with any 5 comedians, living, dead, international, whatever, who would they be?
Well, that's a tricky question, because if I mention local comedians, other comedians are going to get annoyed that I didn't mention them. So I know that sort of ego I've got. But all I'll say about that, I want to do a gig with comedians who are really funny, but not as funny as me. I want them to do well and maybe do really well, but I want to be able to come on last and get the most laughs. So but I tell you, I was watching a Jerry Seinfeld doco on Netflix, which is really interesting, from 2002, called Comedian. He finished up the Seinfeld show, and he went back to do stand-up comedy, and just following him, doing gigs at smaller venues. And there was one bit in it which was funny, where he's doing a gig at a venue just after Seinfeld finished, and there was all these people talking, like in the crowd, which is the most annoying thing when you're a comedian. It's like people talking. If you don't mind them yelling at you, it's better than if they're just talking to their friends, because it's so distracting.
Yeah.
And he told them to shut up, but then he got off stage and said, how big do I have to be where I can get people to listen to me? I mean, I've just finished Seinfeld, the biggest show in the history of comedy, and people still won't listen to me at a gig. So it was good as for another comedian to see Jerry Seinfeld get ignored on a gig. Was nice for me to watch. It can happen to anyone.
I want to get your take on a friend of mine mentioned something the other day. They went to a comedy gig like a couple of years ago, and it was after some, I don't know the specific tragedy, but it was after some tragedy.
Yeah.
And the comedian was making a joke about it, and someone in the audience yelled out, that my father was in that and passed away. And then, obviously that's, where do you go from there? And then the comedian sort of came back and just said, I won't repeat it because it was very distasteful, but came back really hard at that person, and just stuck into, basically dug into them, and treated them like a normal heckler sort of thing. And they were saying it was really uncomfortable to be in the audience and stuff. And I was sort of like, yeah, but he had to, you've got 2 options in that moment. And it's kind of like, it's like that. You got to get in quick. It's like with talkers, you got to sort of just get in and just let them know, just go, hey guys, I need to fucking chat. We're here to do comedy. Because if you let one get away with it, then it's like the whole crowd's gone.
Yeah. No, it's a tricky one. Or if people interject themselves into the show. I mean, you're at a comedy. I think this never happened, but I did a routine. I was imagining what could happen, where someone goes, I'm talking about, oh God, it was like, I was doing jokes about how, say, Victoria's road toll was beating New South Wales road toll, and I'm barracking for Victoria. You know what I mean? So it was like treating it as a scoreboard. And then in the joke I'd say, someone said, my brother just died in a car accident, and then I go, in the routine. It doesn't really happen, but in the routine, I go, well, it's a bit early for you to be on a comedy show, isn't it? You know, so check your own morals before you start judging me. So that was the joke. So yeah, so that's the joke I do when in that situation. A bit early to be going to a comedy show. If someone's on a comedy show, if there's if there's a major plane crash and a loved one of yours dies in that plane crash, I know you don't go to, just avoid comedy shows for a little while. Maybe I don't know. I mean that's a tough one. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, probably wrap it up soon, I guess. It's actually gone a lot longer than I thought it would, but I've just enjoyed chatting so much. But I mean, the thing that I really enjoy about your comedy is that it can be rough around the edges, but it's never crude or crass, and it's never sort of kicking down. It's always introspective, and I guess more about, like, if it's going to be about someone being an idiot, you always point it towards yourself. So
I appreciate that, and that's always something that I like to think I'm the butt of the most of the jokes. I'm not saying other people aren't the butt of some of the jokes, but I'm always ready to laugh at myself more than anyone else. You know what I mean? So yeah, and I appreciate you understanding that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same with it's the same with language as well. Like, I mean, I'm not a prude. Like, I don't care if people swear, but sometimes it does become a point where you're just like, is there a punchline between those swear words? You know what I mean? Like,
and I can be accused of that as well. Like, sometimes when you start swearing,
is that a nerves thing though? I've often wondered if that's.
Sometimes it is. Yeah, If you're more like anxious, you'll probably swear more. So yeah, it's and sometimes swearing's funny, but yeah, you can overdo it. And I can be just as guilty as anyone else of overdoing it. But it does annoy you if someone goes to a gig and your gig went really well. I had a personal trainer once who I gave 3 tickets to a show, and the show went really well. But his only like input to me the next time I saw him was, well, you swore a lot. I'm like, well, that wasn't. I didn't just swear, mate. I didn't just say fuck. There were jokes in between. So yeah, but it's something to be mindful of for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, this thing will cut us off soon, I reckon. So we should wrap it up. But I don't have the updated list of Hughesy's current things from his website, so let the people know.
Podcast, guys. Podcast Hughesy and Ed. All right, just Hughesy and Ed. It's a bloody fun podcast. It's on the Hit Network, 5 to 7 p.m. around Australia. But if you're overseas as well, I think you can podcast it, or in other countries. Hughesy and Ed, and check us out on YouTube or whatever, and see what you can find. So, but we'll be on a live stage sometime soon, hopefully, mate. So,
hopefully, yes.
Keep kicking ass. Very proud of you guys.
Oh, thanks, mate. Well, and just one more thing before we go, I just wanted to say, not to be hyperbolic or blow smoke, but I mean, I've never met you in person, but just through doing gigs and stuff and talking to other comedians, I've heard, talked about Hughesy in passing or whatnot. And every single person I've spoke to in the industry or anything to do with gigs or whatever, every single person has said Hughesy is one of the nicest blokes you'll ever meet. And to me, like, obviously you've got to be a great comedian or a great musician or great performer, whatever. That's, you need to do that. But up there with that is, just treating people kindly and being a great bloke, I think, is one of the most important things in this industry because it's so small. And it's just, being a good person in general. So
absolutely. No,
that's
lovely to hear. Absolutely. I massively appreciate that. Seriously, I do. Absolutely.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you. So I really appreciate the time you took tonight. And I don't know. Hopefully we'll catch you on the other side as soon as we can.
No worries, mate. Keep kicking ass.
Thanks, mate. You too.
Bye.
Watching. That was Dave Hughes. Thanks again so much, Dave. That was incredible. So generous with his time. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been the Not So Late Show. Again, our album is out if you want to go check it out. And for our international audience, look up Hughesy and Ed, their podcast, because it's hilarious and Hughesy is an Australian icon and national treasure. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you next week.